after I got out of boarding school, I started really experimenting with drugs. I didn't go straight into hard drugs per se, but I started really heavily using drugs and relying on those drugs to escape my pain and to escape what I was feeling. And sometimes also to just try and fit in and just try and have friends around me so I could feel cool, so I could feel accepted, because I never really felt like that much growing up. I never really had that many friends. So I was doing that, and I was experimenting more heavily, and so I started getting into alcohol. And like I said, when I was in high school, a lot of it was about acceptance. And I remember one night in particular that stands out. I had gotten a half-gallon of tarantula, which is a, if I remember correctly, I think it's a, it was like tequila or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was tarantula. It was blue. It was like this like fluorescent, like blue color almost. Not fully fluorescent, but like a bright blue. And don't know why really that matters, but just giving some details. And so I had bought a half-gallon, and I had met up with some friends down at a park up in an area called White Center in West Seattle. And so I met up with this huge group of friends, and everybody was drinking. And this was during this time I had been getting money from my dad because of my dad's Social Security. I was getting Social Security dependent or something like that. I can't remember the exact reason I was getting this, but I was essentially getting $1,000+ a month for about a year or so in high school. So when I started getting that, I just started splurging and essentially buying any and everything just to like look cool, fit in, have friends, have people that want to be around me, and get as fucked up as possible all the time. Because that was my outlook pretty much when I got out of boarding school. And when you learn about my story more, I encourage you once again to go check out my story on this channel. So anyways, I had met up with them, and before that I had gone to the store. I had got this half-gallon, and I had fucking bought like a whole carton, maybe even 2 cigarettes, and I was just like giving out packs to people and just like being a really cool guy. Like, yeah, I got hella loaded that night, and I was drinking way more than I should have, and I had gotten to a point where I was essentially stumbling around. And there were 2 people that were like, yo bro, you're way too fucked up, like just sit down and relax. And I wouldn't just sit down and relax. I kept on like walking around and like stumbling and shit. And like I eventually got to a point where I started asking people to hold different things for me. I was like giving people like cartons of cigarettes because I was so fucked up drunk. I was literally giving people packs of cartons and packs of cigarettes, and I was like, here, hold on to these for me. And people started coming up to me and being like, hey man, let me hold on to this for you, let me hold on to that for you. And so they were essentially taking advantage of the fact that I was hella drunk. And so there was 2 people that actually stood up for me, and so they I found out the next day that they had actually gotten in a fight with several people because they wouldn't just leave me alone. They kept on trying to like come around me and trying to get me for everything. And so they protected me that night, and I really appreciated that. But I had gotten extremely drunk that night, and I went over to a friend of mine's house after like the party had kind of dispersed. I had went back over to a friend of mine's house, and the people that had been like trying to take my shit, and because by the time I'd gotten back to my friend's house, I had realized that I almost had nothing. I had no money left. Like, people had taken the money, they'd taken the cigarettes, they'd taken essentially everything from me throughout this entire night. So I immediately got extremely pissed. I was enraged. I was extremely drunk, essentially blacked out at this point. And so what I decided to do in a split decision, and I've already dealt with this legally and whatnot, but I said, you know what, fuck this. And in a split decision, I walked. Well, before this, right before, when I started to get hella pissed, my friend was like, hey, you know that those people that were fucking with you, their mom has a fucking coffee shop stand that's literally right by the mini mart that we went to earlier in the night. And so I was like, oh yeah, fuck that. So instantly in my mind, I ran or walked. I got there somehow. It was only a few blocks away from where I had been staying at that night with my friend. And I get there, and I literally just jump the fence and lay on the ground, and I get my lighter out, and I fucking just hold the lighter to this like there was this like loose like leaf like plant material. I think it was bamboo. It was like a bamboo sheet that was like surrounding like it was almost like fencing around this little coffee shop building. And so I held the lighter there until I saw a decent amount of flames coming up. So essentially until I had committed arson. And so then I hopped back over the fence and went back to my friend's house. And my dumbass self, the next day, a few days at high school, I started bragging about what I had done. And being like, yeah, those motherfuckers fucked with me, so I burnt their fucking mom's coffee shop to the ground. Teach you not to fuck with me. And so the word got around really fast, and the people whose mom, they essentially found out what had happened to their mom and what I had done. And so they, after school, I believe that I actually had to like be around a bunch of people, like a huge group of my. These were actually like more what I would consider actual friends. Pretty much surrounded me and made sure, because these people wanted to fight me after high school for what I had done, and I wasn't trying to have that because they had like a whole group of like 15, 20 people that wanted to jump me. So I went out the back door and got home and whatnot, and eventually, the cops found out. The cops came to my house, and but the family contacted me, and because they had gotten an attorney and everything, and a lawyer and whatnot, I guess, and they had contacted me, or maybe they didn't have an attorney or lawyer, but anyways, I digress. They ended up contacting my parents, and then I ended up paying $5,000 to them to not press charges for that. And essentially, that was one of the pinnacle reasons why I don't drink anymore. There's several others, but why I don't drink hard alcohol and get like fucked up, blacked out, and like why I hate that stuff. This is one of the pinnacle reasons, is because when I black out, and I think a lot of people that drink and do drugs can relate to this, when you black out, you don't remember what you do. I remembered what I did, but at the same time, it doesn't give an excuse for what I did, and I did it because I was drunk. And I'm not blaming it on being drunk, but being drunk did not help the situation, and I made a very stupid decision that night, and I ended up paying for it. Me and that person whose family that I did that to, we're actually cool, and we're friends nowadays. Actually, like within the past few years, we've reached out and we've been like, he essentially said, I know you were a teenager and you just made a fucked up decision, and I understand that, and I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to sit here and hold it against you for life. I've grown, and I've gotten a lot more mature, and like I'm just not going to hold that against somebody. And so I appreciated that, and we made cool. So that's one of the stories regarding alcohol and why I don't drink it anymore. There's another one where I was drinking, again, the Tarantula, another half gallon, and I had gotten a half gallon this night, and I brought it back. I had been staying in this office, like, garage thing behind my parents' house, my dad's house, after I got out of boarding school. And so I had been staying out in this little like garage thing out in the back, kind of like it was completely detached from the house. And so I bought a half gallon that night, and I had like a decent amount of friends over, but nobody was really drinking it with me. And so eventually I kind of just said, okay, fine, so somebody's gonna drink it with me, I'm just gonna get fucked up all by myself. And so I ended up pretty much drinking, probably chugging part of it too, knowing me, the majority of that half gallon. And all that I remember is the next day, my friends were all like, hey man, don't you remember how fucked up you were? You were literally in the back of your room, literally trying to climb. I was literally trying to climb these fucking metal shelves, and I ended up like knocking everything down. There was like hella binders, like hella organized shit up there, and I just knocked everything down on top of myself. And I woke up in the morning like covered in like wood and like papers and all sorts of shit. And then there was another experience that sticks out, and this is the last one I'm going to do on the alcohol tip. Can't remember exactly when this was, but this was another night I had gotten blacked out, and I came home, and I remember my dad having to help me up the stairs, and I remember literally projectile vomiting the second I got into the upstairs bathroom, all over everything, and then just collapsing on the fucking on the bathroom floor. And my dad literally has a picture to this day of me just literally passed the fuck out on the floor, and he would periodically bring that picture up and be like, see, this is why you don't drink anymore, remember? So with alcohol, that's essentially some stories with the alcohol tip.